Bhagavad Gita overview. So we are discussing from 6th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. So just a minute, I'll take 1 minute. So far we have discussed till 6 chapters 17th verse, 6th chapter 17th verse we had discussed last time. So I'll take a quick overview of whatever we have discussed. So in the first chapter, Arjuna gets bewildered by seeing the armies and starts posing so many arguments. I am feeling compassion for the people. I am thinking how I will enjoy if I kill all of them. I am fearful of the sinful reactions. I am fearful of the destruction of the family tradition. Then the second chapter, he was confused. So to take Arjun out of all these confusions, Krishna, he starts giving the knowledge of the soul, and then he gives the knowledge of heavenly planets, and he tells if you want to win, if you want to enjoy, if you win you will go to heaven and enjoy. If you die, if you win you will stay on this planet and enjoy. If you die you will go to heaven and you will enjoy. So both ways you are going to enjoy. And then if you are fearful of sinful reactions, if you work for me practicing buddhi yoga, then you will not be bound by the reactions. And then Lord Krishna establishes the principles by which one can become a buddhi yogi and describes the characteristics of a buddhi yogi. Then Arjuna becomes confused. Which is better, work or renunciation? So then in response to this, third chapter describes how work in renunciation, mood of renunciation is better. And even if you think, Arjuna, you are qualified for renunciation, still you should work to set right example. And then if you work in this consciousness, you will develop this knowledge. In the path of developing this knowledge, this lust is a formidable enemy. So in third chapter, last section describes the enemy of lust. Then in the fourth chapter, Krishna describes the process of transcendental knowledge, his own position and why he works. And then he describes series of sacrifices, and then the result of all these sacrifices is jnana. Then in the fifth chapter again, Arjuna goes into confusion. Again, Krishna has to explain how this transcendental knowledge, what is this transcendental knowledge? Work done in a renounced consciousness. So that was the whole section of the fifth chapter also. Then in the last verses of the fifth chapter, Krishna describes the ways to get liberated from this world. So one way is the practice of Ashtanga Yoga. Other way is the practice of Bhakti Yoga. So the sixth chapter, Krishna is describing the process of Ashtanga Yoga. And so far we have discussed that in the beginning of this chapter, Krishna again establishes that Nishkam Karma Yoga is better because it is easy. And then Krishna describes the two stages of Ashtanga Yogi. The beginning stages are called Yoga Ruruksha, and the later stages are called Yoga Rudha. So Krishna describes the qualifications a person should have to practice this Ashtanga Yoga, the place, the consciousness, the manner of sitting, what does he meditate on, all these things Krishna has described. And now, last verse we discussed where Krishna is saying what are the recommendations, what he should do and what he should not do. So there he says that we have to be controlled and balanced in our eating, sleeping, recreation, and our activities. So all these should be completely regulated. Otherwise, if we are not regulated, we will not be able to achieve the perfection. Then the last line of these 17th verse is Yogo Bhavati Dukkhaha. So if somebody is practicing the regulation of material activities, it leads to the destruction of the miseries. So therefore, the more we are regulated in our eating, sleeping, mating and defending, the more we will be focused and we will be more inclined to the process of Krishna consciousness. As Prabhupada writes in the purport, extravagance in the matter of eating, sleeping, defending and mating, which are the demands of the body, they can block the advancement in the practice of yoga. So therefore, a serious devotee is defined by a sense of purpose and a sense of urgency. So we have to be very, very clear why we are doing what we are doing, and we should not waste time. As Rup Goswami says, avyartha kalatvam, not wasting time in either of these things. Eating, sleeping, mating, and defending should be done to keep our body and mind and soul together. So till the time we are taking care of the body with a view that this body will help me to come closer to Krishna, then it is good. That is called yukta ahar, yukta vihar. Otherwise, it becomes atyahar, it becomes prayas, as Rupa Goswami describes in Nectar of Instruction. So then after description of this, Krishna describes the perfectional stage of Ashtanga Yoga, that is the Yoga Rudha stage. So what is the consciousness of Ashtanga Yogi? Is Yoga Rudha. On Yoga Rudha stage, it is described his mind is a very, very fixed, does not waver even a bit. And Krishna gives the example of a lamp in a windless space. Yatha deepo nivatastho ningate sopama smrita yogino yata chittasya yunjato yogamatmanah. Yatha deepo, just like a lamp in a windless place does not waver. Similarly, the mind of a yoga rudha ashtanga yogi is fixed. He is free from any desire for sense gratification. Nispriha sarva kamebhyo yukta ityuchyate tada. 19th verse Krishna says, Nispriha. You know, agitations, they come when we are disturbed and we are disturbed by the desires. Desires, they disturb our mind. So Ashtanga Yogi at the Yoga Rudha platform, he has no desires. Therefore, he is completely focused. His mind does not even waver for a fraction of a second. Therefore, Krishna says that one has to be very fixed if we want to practice this Ashtanga Yoga. And for that matter, any yoga, and our bhakti yoga is also depending on this process of keeping our mind focused on Krishna. A person can focus on one thing in two conditions. Either he likes the subject, and second is when there are no distractions. So we have to create situations around us where the distraction levels go down. When we are chanting, when we are reading Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, we have to choose a place where we can sit without getting distracted. We should not choose a place where you know that there will be traffic of the people. You will be distracted. So you have to find a place where you will not get external distractions. And slowly, by the practice of Krishna consciousness, the taste for this Krishna consciousness will arise. Just like Prabhupada gives example of a person who is afflicted with jaundice. The sugarcane juice tastes bitter. But what is the solution for this? Solution is he has to continue drinking the sugarcane juice. And for sure the taste will arise. So the more we practice bhakti, the more we chant attentively, the taste will arise. And in pursuit of this Krishna consciousness, we have to be very focused because the distractions will come always. The desire for sense gratification will come always. We have to avoid this wind of desires. The wind of desire is a very, very deadly thing for practicing sadhaka. So therefore, Ashtanga Yogi's mind is like a lamp in a windless place. Then from 20 to 23rd verses, Krishna describes the realizations of a Ashtanga Yogi. So this is a perfectional stage. So we have to try to develop these qualifications. In 20th verse, Krishna says, Yatro paramate chittam uparamate chittam. Try to stop all material mental activities. As we are chanting, as we are reading Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, going for a festival, going to temple. Stop all external mental activities and try to focus on what we are going to do. And then Pashyan Atmani Tushyati, one will be satisfied. Then 21st verse, it says Sukham Atyantikam. The person who is a devotee, he is always blissful. And you have seen those who are pure devotees, Prabhupada disciples, when we see their pastimes, hear their pastimes, we can understand they are happy. In any circumstance, they were happy. Prabhupada, in the last days of his life, he was in Vrindavan, and devotees from New Vrindavan, America, West Virginia, they brought a ring for him. They made a ring, special ring, and they brought for Prabhupada. So Prabhupada very gracefully accepted the ring and said, "Oh, thank you very much. So where is the bride?" So in that situation also, he was really peaceful and happy. So that is the stage of a Ashtanga Yogi. Then 22nd verse is a very, very important verse. Krishna says, Yam labdhva cha param labham manyate nadhikam tatah. Yam labdhva. Having obtained this stage of Ashtanga Yoga, or this stage of Krishna consciousness, if somebody attains, manyate na adhikam. He does not desire anything else. He is completely satisfied with Krishna only. Whatever distractions may come, he will not get disturbed. And we see the crux and the pinnacle of this is the example of Haridas Thakur. Maya Devi personified came to test Haridas Thakur. But Haridas Thakur, he was completely fixed in chanting the names of Krishna, and he did not even get disturbed. So therefore, Krishna says, Yam labdhva chaparam labham manyate na adhikam. Aparam labh. He is not interested in any other gain apart from this. So what do we have to attain in Krishna consciousness is this bliss of bhakti. The taste for Krishna consciousness, if we attain, then all the other distractions will not trouble us. Yasmin sthito, and with this steady determination, na dukkhena gurunapi vichalayet. Again, Krishna is saying that this person is not troubled by the miseries of this world. For a devotee, problems will come for sure, but devotee is not troubled by these problems. As it is said, miseries are compulsory, suffering is optional. So the more we become very, very fixed in the process of Krishna consciousness, the more the troubles will not affect us. Pains will be there, but we will not become distressed. So that is what Krishna is saying. That is the perfection of life. Devotee is satisfied with Krishna. As Dhruva Maharaj says, Thana bhilashi tapasi sthitoham tvam praptavan deva munindra guhyam kacham vichinvan api divyaratnam swamin kritarthosmi varam nayache. Sthana bhilashi. Dhruva Maharaj is saying, oh my Lord, after he takes darshan of the Lord, he says, oh my Lord, I was doing tapasya to get a place greater than my great grandfather Brahma. But after I have got your darshan, oh my Lord, Tvam Praptvan, which is very, very rare, even great sages, sadhus, yogis, they are doing tapasya for millions of lifetimes, but still they cannot have your darshan. After I have got your darshan, now I have realized, Kacham vichinvan api divyaratnam. What I was looking for was broken pieces of glass. And what I have got is Swamin Kritarthosmi Varam Nayache. I am satisfied. I do not want anything in this world. So that is the condition of a devotee when he is experiencing the bliss of Krishna. And that is the status of a Ashtanga Yogi who is on the Yoga Rudha platform. 23rd verse, Krishna says, Tam vidyad dukkha sanyoga vyogam yoga sangitam. So when this state is reached, this is actual freedom from all miseries. A devotee, Ashtanga Yoga becomes completely peaceful. So that is called yoga. And then after describing this, Krishna, he says, what is the method to attain this yoga rude stage? So he gives in 24th and 25th verses, Krishna describes so many qualities which are required to be practiced by a Ashtanga yogi. And for that matter, every devotee should try to develop these qualities. What are those qualities? Nishchaya, with determination. Anirvinna chetasa, without distraction, without deviation. Kamams tyaktva, free from any desire for sense gratification. Manase indriya gramam, controlling gain over all the senses. Viniyamya, controlling them. We have to develop all these things. We have to strive to our best of our capacity, develop these qualities. First of all, Nishchaya. As Prabhupada, as Rupa Goswami also tells in Nectar of Instruction, Utsaha, Nishchaya and Dhairya. Same thing Krishna is saying here. You should have that Nishchaya, you should have that determination, and you should have that control over all your senses. That is the first verse of Nectar of Instruction. Vacho Vegam, Manasa Krodha Vegam. So these are the qualities which are required to be developed by a devotee also. So when we are reading this chapter, we should not think, oh, this is something for Ashtanga yogi, मेरे लिए तो है ही नहीं. पढ़ लेते हैं फिर भी क्या फर्क पड़ता है. हम तो पहले ही भक्ति का स्टेज पे हैं. योगा लेटर तो प्रभु जी ने फर्स्ट डे पे बताया ही था. भक्ति योगा तो हाईएस्ट है. भक्ति योगा हाईएस्ट है मालूम है. लेकिन भक्ति योगा प्रैक्टिस करने के लिए सेम थिंग्स आर रिक्वायर्ड व्हिच आर रिक्वायर्ड फॉर अष्टांग योगी आल्सो. And the best thing is we don't have to go to jungle and we don't have to stop eating. We can have all the feast made and we can enjoy prasad to the fullest of the capacity. But these qualities are must for a devotee. Then 25th verse, Krishna says, Shanai Shanai Uparamed. Gradually the mind will come under control. The intelligence will be convinced. Buddhya dhriti grihitaya. The mind will be fixed on Krishna. Atma samstham manakritva. Atma samstham. Mind will be focused on Krishna. Na kinchit apichintayet. And then the devotee does not think anything else. So that is how we have to understand that we have to keep on remembering, keep on reminding ourselves why we have come here, why I am practicing, why I am taking so much of my time doing chanting, hearing Bhagavad Gita, why? To Atma Samstham Manah Kritva, to focus our mind on the Supreme alone. And many times, it is the job of the mind. Mind is a very tricky thing. Mind will always make us feel that I'm not getting sufficient. I will never make it. I don't have this. I don't have this. Let's just see this devotee chanting so nicely. मैं तो हाथ में माला उठाते ही सो जाता हूँ. एक जगह पे बैठ के तो माला होती नहीं है मेरी. But when mind cheats us with these things, we have to remember those things which we have got in Krishna consciousness. We have got so many things in Krishna consciousness. So after this class, all of you, you can try writing the day one of your Krishna consciousness and now. What I have attained. What are the changes which have come in my life? That will keep us peaceful. We have to remember our good fortune. Mamanaradhya dukkhartham kutumba saktamanasa satsangarahito martyo vriddha seva parichyuta. So Krishna is saying 4 things makes a person perfect. The opportunity to worship Krishna, Mamanaradhya, Kutumba Saktamanasa. Secondly, if somebody is just attached to family and is not getting chance to worship Krishna and making life perfect, he is unfortunate. We are getting the opportunity to make our life perfect. Satsangarahito martyo. The person who does not get a chance to associate with devotees is unfortunate. We have such a opulence, even if we don't want sometimes. Devotees they call us, अरे कहाँ है? Program के लिए नहीं आया. Last Sunday भी नहीं आया, ये Sunday भी नहीं आया, किधर है? In one line, Prabhupada writes in Nectar of Instruction, Krishna consciousness is so wonderful that you will be forcibly dragged to success. Pure devotee बनना ही पड़ेगा आपको, you know? Even if you don't want, because you are in Krishna consciousness, devotees will drag us. And then with the seva parichita, the opportunity to serve the elders, that is also opportunity to serve the devotees, seniors, that is also rare opportunity. We have all this. So when the mind troubles us, we have to think and remember our fortune, you know. And then Arjuna may think, but you know, even after knowing everything, mind keeps wandering. हजार बार lecture सुना है प्रभु जी, but still mind keeps wandering. What to do? So Krishna gives a simple formula. Wherever the mind goes, bring it back. Yato yato nishchalati manashanchalam asthiram tatastato niyamyetat atmanyeva vashamnayet. Krishna is saying mind is chanchal and asthir, flickering and unsteady. Wherever and whenever the mind wanders, tatastato niyamyetat, one must certainly withdraw it and atmanyeva vasham, bring it under one's control. So mind is like a child. So just like a child has to be very carefully dealt with, similarly the mind should be parented like a small child. We have to be vigilant and we have to be diligent with the mind. Vigilant means we have to be attentive. What the mind is saying, we have to be really attentive towards it. We have to mind the mind. We have to see what our mind is saying, and diligent. We have to be very careful. So the more, wherever the mind goes, enchanting mind is going everywhere, bring it back again and again. Kab tak karna hai? We have discussed. Prak sharir vimokshanat, marte dam tak chalta rahega. As one of the senior devotees was saying, even at the last breath of our life, in 1 year, Krishna will speak, come back, come back. Other year, Maya Devi will stay back. Don't worry, it is not so bad. So we have to keep on bringing the mind back again and again till the last breath of our life. And then if we are having this practice, then what will be the result? Then from 27 to 30 verses describe the result of this practice. So in 27th verse, Krishna says the person who is practicing this Ashtanga Yoga, first he realizes the level of soul. Then 28th verse, he says, then he goes to the realization of Brahman. 29th verse, he says, he goes to the realization of Paramatma. And then ultimately he goes to the level of Bhagavan also. So the spiritual life begins with self-realization, then Brahman, Paramatma and Bhagavan. So from 27, 28, 29, 30, these 4 verses, Krishna is taking Arjuna from the understanding of self-realization to Bhagavan realization. So 27th verse, Krishna says, Prashant manasam hyenam, a yogi whose mind is fixed on me, yoginam sukhamuttamam, he attains the highest perfection of the happiness. And then upaiti shantarajasam, he is devoid of the mode of passion. Brahma bhutam akalmasham, Brahma bhut, this word is important. He realizes that I am not this body, I am soul. That is Brahma bhut. To realize that I am not this body, I am soul. Then 28th verse he says, Yunjannevam sadatmanam, always endeavoring in this way. Yunjan means constantly. Always endeavoring in this way. What happens? Yogi vigata kalmashaha. Yogi becomes free from all the material contamination. Then sukhena brahma samsparsham. He becomes happy and he develops a contact with the Brahman. So here Brahman means the Brahman realization of the Lord. He starts getting connected to the transcendental aspect of the Lord. Atyantam sukhamashnute. and he gets the highest level of perfection of happiness. 29th verse, he says, Sarvabhutasthamaatmanam. So Sarvabhut, that aspect of the Lord who is situated in every living entity. Sarvabhut sthitam. Sthita means to be situated. Sarvabhut means in all the living entities. So that is the Paramatma. He says Sarvabhutasthamaatmanam ikshate. Third line says ikshate. He can see Paramatma situated in all living entities. Sarvatra samadarshanaha. He develops an equal vision. And then 30th verse he says, Yo mam pashyati sarvatra. So if you notice, in 29th verse, Krishna is saying, this person sees Paramatma in every living entity. In 30th verse, Krishna is saying, Yo mam pashyati. That person sees me in every living entity. So Arjuna may get confused. Are 29th mein you are saying you are seeing Paramatma everywhere, and 30th you are telling you are seeing me everywhere. What is this happening? So Arjuna may have this doubt. So in this slide you can see. So there may be some confusion. In 29th he is saying see Paramatma everywhere. Sarva bhutastham atmanam. And then 30th he is saying see me everywhere. Yo mam pashyati sarvatra. So then Arjuna may get confused. What is this happening? Is Krishna giving two proposals? So 31st verse, Krishna clarifies the doubt. He says, that Paramatma is same as me only. Sarvabhutasthamaatmanam sarvabhutasthitham yomam bhajatyekattvamasitam sarvatha vartamanopi sayogi mai vartate. He says, sarvabhutasthitham yomam. In 29th verse, Krishna says, sarvabhutastham atmanam. 30th verse he says yo mam pashyati. 31st verse is combining these two words, sarva bhutastham and yo mam pashyati. So Krishna is now giving the final conclusive understanding. He's saying that Paramatma is same as me. I am expanded as Paramatma in all the living entities, and therefore what you have to do, you don't have to just sit and meditate. Bhajati, you have to practice devotional service, you have to serve the Lord. Then sarvatha vartamanopi sayogi mai vartate. So then after this, Krishna describes who is a perfect yogi. So in 32nd verse, Krishna says, the person who sees all living beings equally is a perfect yogi. After hearing all these big things, Arjuna gets confused. And he loses hope. बोले मेरे से तो नहीं होगा बाबा, ये सब ये बहुत मुश्किल है. To see everybody with equal vision and to control the mind, ये सब तो बहुत बड़ा चीज है, मेरे से तो कुछ भी नहीं होने वाला है. So now Arjuna realizes this Ashtanga yoga is not so easy. So this Arjuna is expressing in the next two verses. In 33rd and 34th verses, Arjuna is saying, oh Krishna, this Ashtanga yoga is impractical because mind is very fickle. Yoyam yogastvaya prokta samyena madhusudana. Oh my Lord, oh Madhusudana, योयम योगस्त्वया प्रोक्तः, जो योग आपने बताया है, प्रोक्ता means you have told, whatever system of yoga you have described, this is etasyaham na pashyami. It appears impractical and unendurable for me because chanchalatvat sthitim sthiram, because my mind is very restless and unsteady. I cannot follow whatever you are saying. And then he says very famous verse, chanchalam mana krishna pramati balavadridam tasyaham nigraham manye vayoriva sudushkaram. So we should understand when Arjuna is saying my mind is fickle, unsteady, very restless, pramathi, balvat and dridam. Arjuna is using three adjectives for his mind. Pramathi, obstinate, balvat, very strong, and didam, very difficult to control. He says, I can control the wind, but I cannot control mind. So you have to understand who is Arjuna. Arjuna was such a powerful warrior that he could control the movements of his arrows with his mind. That was the power of Arjuna's mind control. And he is saying, I cannot control my mind. So, we should not, if somebody hears this, he will go into, depression. Are Baba, in Arjun ka ye hal hai. What is the hope for me? मेरा तो मतलब छोड़ दो, पॉसिबल ही नहीं है, ट्राई करना भी यूजलेस है. नो, Krishna understands and accepts, yes, whatever you are saying, Arjuna, it is true, but you can control the mind. So in 34th verse purport, Prabhupada writes, he quotes a verse from Katha Upanishad, in which it is described that this body is compared to a chariot, Atmanam Rathinam Vidhi, and the senses are compared to the five horses, the reins are compared to the mind, the intelligence is the driver, and the soul is the passenger. So if the intelligence is not strong and the horses are wild, the passenger will be in a very, very precarious condition. So therefore, instead of focusing on what we cannot do, we have to think of what we can do now. Mind is very uncontrolled for sure, that is there. What can we do now? Krishna describes in the next verse. And Prabhupada writes in the purport of this 34th verse, he gives the solution everywhere. Prabhupada is just like a loving mother. He does not wait for Krishna to answer this question. In 34th verse purport, Prabhupada is giving a very, very simple solution which everybody of us know. We have heard this n number of times from Prabhupada's books. Only way we can control our mind is we have to focus our mind on Krishna. Because Krishna can attract our mind. Manah kantam. Mind likes to go towards so many beautiful things. Mind will be completely peaceful and satisfied only if it comes in touch with Krishna. Tatranvaham Krishna katha pragayatam anugrahena shrinuvan manohara. So Narad Muni is saying, when I heard the glories of Krishna from the mouth of Bhaktivedantists, my mind became very much attracted. Manohara, because Krishna katha is manohar. We would like to hear so many good things. We like to see beautiful objects, but only Krishna can completely satisfy all our senses. So Prabhupada writes this in purport. Then Krishna, he understands, okay, Arjuna is getting disturbed. So now Krishna gives a simple solution. How to deal with the mind? He says, it is possible, O Arjuna, to control the mind. Two things you have to do, practice and detachment. Asanshayam mahabaho mano durnigraham chalam abhyasena tu kaunteya vairagyena jagrihiyate. He says, Asanshayam, first time in whole Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is agreeing to whatever Arjuna says. He says, yes, O Arjuna, whatever you are saying is correct. Asanshaya. Mano durnigraham, mind is very difficult to control. But there are two things you can do to control the mind. Abhyas and vairagya. Constant practice of chanting, hearing the names of the Lord, reading Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, associating with devotees regularly, sincerely, attentively, and avoiding distractions. Vairagya from the distractions of this world. Vairagya from the social media of this world. Vairagya from WhatsApp, Facebook, internet, Twitter. It may look difficult, but we have to try. At least we have to make some commitments. At least during japa time, I'll not use my phone. At least during this time, I'll chant my rounds attentively, try my best. We have to take some steps towards renunciation. It will not come automatically. एक बार दिन में सुबह उठे और अभी renunciation आ गया, ऐसा नहीं होगा. It will not happen. We have to struggle for it. We have to strive for it. And then in 36th verse, Krishna says, if you control the mind in this way, then you will attain the perfection, because mind control is must for yoga. and mind control is must for a bhakti yogi also. So Krishna says, asamyatatmana yogo dushprap iti me matihi vashyatmana tu yatata shakyo aptumapayatah. Krishna says, asamyat atmana, for one whose mind is unbridled. Unbridled means uncontrolled. Dushprap, self-realization is very difficult. And then, vashyatmana tu yatata, for one whose mind is controlled, shakyah, for sure he will attain success. Krishna is saying, iti me mati, that is my opinion. So Prabhupada writes in the purport, he says, yoga practice without mind control is simply a waste of time, just like trying to ignite a fire while putting water on it. So it is not possible. So therefore, a Krishna conscious person also has to try his best to control the mind. Otherwise, will not be able to attain the desired success and destination. And then after hearing this, Arjuna gets a doubt. He thinks that, okay, Krishna, you are saying that success will be if somebody controls the mind and all these things. What if somebody fails to conquer the mind and he does not achieve the desired destination? What is his destination? Where does he go? So Arjuna asks, Kachinno bhaya vibhrashta chinna bhram iva nashyati apratishto mahabaho vimuhdo brahmana pathi. He says, oh Krishna, what is the destination of that yogi who does not complete the journey, who cannot attain this yoga rudha platform? Is it that he gets destroyed just like a raven cloud, a cloud which is dragged away by the wind? The cloud loses its existence. So is it that the same thing happens to an unsuccessful yogi also? So please tell me. So Krishna says, no Arjuna, it is not like that. There is no misfortune for a Ashtanga yogi or for a Bhakti yogi. Parth naivehna mutra vinashastasya vidyate. Oh Parth, there is no loss, there is no destruction of a Ashtanga yogi. Nahi kalyana krit kasyat durgatim tat gacchati. There is no durgati, there is no bad result for a yogi. As 2.40 also Krishna has said, 2.40, 41. Neha bhikramana shosti pratyavayo na vidyate. In this endeavor, there is no loss, O Arjuna. Then Krishna says, if an unsuccessful yogi, he falls after a short practice of this yoga, then he takes birth in the family of rich people or in the family of a Brahmana. Shuchinam Shrimatam Gehe. So if somebody starts practicing for a small moment, and after very short time of practice, he thinks, I cannot do this, and he gives up. What will be the result? Shuchinam Shrimatam Gehe Yoga Bhrashto Vijayate. He takes birth in the family of rich people or in the family of the Brahmanas, because in these people's homes there are more favorable circumstances to take to spirituality. And then Krishna says, but there are some yogis, even though they perfected their path, but by some misfortune they develop a desire to enjoy. And then what will be their result? Who has practiced for a long time, where do they go if they cannot complete their path? Krishna says, the person who falls down after a long practice of this Ashtanga Yoga, he takes birth in the family of Dhimata. And Prabhupada writes, that is the family of devotees. Because in this family of devotees, he can surely make his life perfect. So that is how spiritual credit is carried over. A body may die because it is dead matter. We cannot take anything with us. But only thing which will stay is our devotional credits, our spiritual credits. And we see in this in the case of King Bharat. Bharat Maharaj, he became a deer, but he still remembered his past life. And then after he left his body as a deer, he took birth in the family of Brahmanas as Jad Bharat. Therefore, it is said that Bhakti yogi or a transcendentalist never loses. He is always a winner. And then Krishna says in 43rd and 44th verses, very soon he resumes his yoga process and he is naturally attracted. We also see in the our hostel, college preaching, and in some congregation devotees, some devotees, some boys, youth, they come to Krishna consciousness very fast. In day one, they'll be chanting 4 rounds, and day 2, 8 rounds, and 1 week they are chanting 16 rounds. And other person thinks, यार मैं 1 साल से आ रहा हूँ, अभी तक 4 ही माला कर रहा हूँ, और ये यार 1 हफ्ते में 16 माला चालू कर दिया, ये क्या है? So you should understand that is his previous life's pious credits. Bhakti किया है उसने पिछले साल में, पिछले जन्म में. That's why he can take it. So that is the result of practicing this yoga. Revives dormant consciousness and naturally gets attracted, and ultimately he attains perfection. Prayatna Astu in 45th verse, Krishna says, Yogi samsiddhi kilbishay anek janma samsiddhas tato yati param gatim. So Krishna says, anek janma samsiddha, after many lifetimes. So Krishna is now answering, Arjuna's question. What is the fate of this yogi who cannot make his life perfect in one lifetime? Krishna says, don't worry, he will make his life perfect in some lifetimes for sure. Anek janma samsiddha. After many births, he will continue and perfect his life. For a yogi, for a bhakti yogi, Krishna gives a sure shot process. And Prabhupada, he said many times that in this one lifetime we can go back to God. Chakravarti Pad writes in the purport, what is the cause of falling from this path of Krishna consciousness or spirituality? He says lack of effort. We are not putting our full effort in the process of bhakti, in our chanting, in our devotional practices. That's why we may not attain the desired destination, because bhakti is very rare, because Krishna does not give bhakti so easily. Krishna tests a devotee thoroughly before giving him bhakti. At the same time, he gives all the support. He gives scriptures, he sends devotees, he comes himself. So Krishna, although he tests his devotees, but he wants that his devotees pass the test. So that is the mercy of the Lord. And ultimately, we will attain perfection. And our hope is all the more Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is there. Egutta bhava sindhu brahma napa ek bindu hena dhana bilaila samsare aiche dayalu avatar aiche data nahi ar gun keha nare varni bare. Kaviraj Goswami says, Mahaprabhu is like the ocean of mercy, and even Brahma cannot understand even a drop of this nectar. He says, Brahma napa ek bindu hena dhana bilaila samsare. Mahaprabhu came to give this love of God to everyone. That's why he is the most merciful of all the incarnations. And our fortune is Prabhupada is there. Prabhupada has given us this process by which we can perfect our life in this lifetime only. One time Prabhupada was giving a class, and then he said in that class that one has to be 100% Krishna conscious to go back home, back to Godhead. So then devotees, they were bewildered. Baap re, ye lifetime mein possible nahi. 100% kidhar? So Prabhupada looked at the faces of the devotees and he understood their feelings. He said, okay, 90%. Prabhupada was bargaining. Started bargaining. Okay, 90%. If you're 90% conscious, you will go back. And then Prabhupada got up. Prabhupada was sitting on an elevated seat. So he climbed down one step. Again he looked at the devotees. Again the devotees were not showing any response. He said, okay, 80%. Again he climbed down. Again he looked at the devotees. He said, okay, 75% and no less. If you are 75% Krishna conscious, you will go back home, back to Godhead. So devotees were thinking, okay, 75% tak to try kar sakte hain. So then one devotee, he went to Prabhupada after some time. He said, Prabhupada, is it that whatever you are saying, that 75% if we are Krishna conscious, we will go back? Prabhupada said, yes, because I have the back door key to the Goloka. You have to just catch my dhoti, I will take everyone. But we have to struggle to the best of our capacity. So that is the key. We have to struggle to the best of our capacity. Krishna will not give mercy if we are not giving our best. Even his own mother, this Yashoda Mai, she was struggling to the best of her capacity. Swamatu swinna gatraya vistrishta kamarasraja drishtva parishramam Krishna kripaya asit swabandhane. So Damodar Leela, Mother Yashoda was running behind Krishna. And when Krishna sees that his mother is completely drenched with sweat from head to toe, swinna gatraya, visrishta kavarasraja, hairs are scattered, flowers are falling, drishtva parishramam. When Krishna saw the struggle of Mother Yashoda, then kripaya asit, then Krishna gave mercy. So we have to struggle, and then for sure we will attain perfection. Then in this 46th verse, Krishna says that a yogi is higher than a tapasvi, yogi is higher than a jnani, yogi is higher than a karmi. Tapasvibhyodiko yogi, jnanibhyopi matodikaha, karmibhya chadhiko yogi, tasmad yogi bhavarjuna. So Prabhupada writes that, in the path of spirituality, yogi is the best. But it may seem that, is Krishna endorsing Ashtanga Yoga? So who is this yogi which Krishna is endorsing here? So Krishna describes in the last verse of this Bhagavad Gita 6th chapter, which is the best of all the yogis. Yoginam api sarvesham madgatenantaratmana Shraddhavan bhajate yo mam same yuktatamo matah. Yoginam api sarvesham, of all these yogis, karma yogi, nishkam karmi, jnani, ashtanga yogi, the one who is madgaten antar atmana, one who is always thinking of me, Shraddhavan bhajate, with faith he is practicing devotional service unto me. Same yuktatama. So this is the highest degree of endorsement. Yukta, Yuktatar, and Yuktatam. So Baldev Vidyabhushan writes that Krishna is saying that in the ascending hierarchy of the yoga, there are many karma yogis. Better than all the karma yogis is the person who is on the level of dhyana. That is called yukta. Higher than that is one who is at the level of samadhi. That is yuktatar. And highest is one who has achieved the practice stage of bhakti yoga. That is yuktatam. So Krishna is saying whoever practices bhakti yoga, he is the best of all the devotees, because karma can't takes one to heaven. Jnana can't takes one to Brahman. The Jnana yoga takes one to Brahman. Then Ashtanga yoga takes one to Paramatma. Bhakti yoga takes one to Bhagavan realization. So therefore, we have to understand the process of bhakti is the highest of all the yogas. So now we'll see in a short 5 minutes the overview of the 6 chapters. We have completed first 6 chapters of Bhagavad Gita. That is called Karma Yoga section. So in this Karma Yoga section, first we saw that Arjuna, he was observing the armies and becomes overwhelmed. And he gives so many of his arguments why he does not want to fight. And then after hearing this, Dhritarashtra becomes hopeful. Okay, it seems that Arjuna is not going to fight. If Arjuna is not going to fight, definitely we are winning the battle. But then Arjuna accepts the instructions of Krishna, accepts him as Guru, and then Krishna explains the knowledge of the Jnana, where he gives the knowledge of the body and the soul. Then he describes the knowledge of sakam karma, doing duty and attaining enjoyment. Then he takes him to the higher level of nishkam karma yoga, working with detachment. And then Krishna has described the qualities of a sthita pragya. Now in 2.49, Krishna has said one verse, Duren hiavaram karma avaram. Avaram means abominable work. So Krishna is saying, Arjuna, he's telling Arjuna that all keep apart all abominable actions by buddhi yoga. So Arjuna gets confused. Which is better, renunciation or action? So then third chapter Krishna describes that action based on nishkam karma yoga is better. And then he says, even if you are thinking you are qualified for renunciation, still you have to do nishkam karma yoga only because you have to set a right standard. And lust is a formidable enemy in your path to practice this nishkam karma yoga. Nishkam karma yoga means I don't want anything for myself. And lust means I want everything for myself. Atmendriya pritivan chattare bolikam. Krishnendriya priticha dhare premanam. The desire to satisfy one's own senses, that is called lust. Desire to satisfy the senses of Krishna is called love. So Krishna is saying this lust is a formidable enemy, and you can conquer this enemy by spiritual knowledge, intelligence. And then Krishna represents this transcendental knowledge by which the lust can be conquered. So in the fourth chapter, Krishna has given this his own position. Who is he? And then he said that I have given this knowledge to sun god in the past. Then he describes his own nature of appearance, and then he gives the principles of karma, akarma and vikarma. And then he says the principles of karma can be understood on the level of jnana. And then one can attain this knowledge through the practice of sacrifice. And so many sacrifices we saw. And then he says, this knowledge you can attain from the bona fide spiritual master. So now Krishna has spoken few verses in this fourth chapter which confuses Arjuna again. So in 4.39, Krishna has said, Shraddhavan labate jnanam tatpara samyatendriyah jnanam labdhva param shantim achirena adigacchati. So Krishna is saying, he spoke of attaining peace by jnana. So peace by jnana means no action. 4.41 again Krishna said, Yoga sannyasta karmanam, give up all the activities. That's what Krishna felt, Arjuna felt. But what is Krishna saying? Give up all this activity for sense gratification. Work for the Nishkam Karma Yoga platform. But then again, 42nd verse, Krishna told Arjuna, you get up and fight. All these things confuses Arjuna again. So he asks the same question, which is better, action or renunciation? Krishna says both are same, but karma yoga is easy. So therefore, he says Nishkam karma yogi becomes free from all the bondage. And then he says one can attain liberation by two ways, either by Ashtanga yoga or by Bhakti yoga. So then this Ashtanga yoga Krishna mentions in 27 and 28th verses in the 5th chapter, and then Bhakti yoga he mentions in the 29th verse of this chapter. So then this 27th and 28th verse are elaborated again in the 6th chapters of Bhagavad Gita, 6th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. And then 29th verse is elaborated in 6 chapters from 7 to 12. So therefore, in 6.41 Krishna has said, Yoginam api sarvesham madgatenantaratmana shraddhavan bhajate yomam same yukta tamo matah. Bhakti yogi is the highest. So then from 7th chapter onwards, Krishna explains the Bhakti yoga more elaborately. So we'll start the 7th chapter, where Krishna will describe what is this Bhakti yoga. Okay. So now the connection between 6th and 7th chapters are, in 6.47 verse, Krishna has described about the Bhakti Yogi. Now Krishna explains how to do that Bhakti Yoga. So in the first 6 chapters, Krishna has told Arjuna the sublime knowledge of Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga and Ashtanga Yoga. Now from 7th chapter onwards, Krishna is giving the knowledge of Bhakti Yoga to Arjuna. So now Krishna had told Arjuna that you have to work action in renunciation in action. Krishna has told Arjuna to act in the mood of renunciation. Now Krishna tells Arjuna, renunciation in action is not sufficient. You have to add devotion in action also. So that is what Krishna will explain from 7th chapter onwards. So till 6th chapter, Krishna is telling Arjuna how to become detached from the material world. But just getting detached is not sufficient. You have to become attached to Krishna also. So how to become attached to Krishna, that Krishna will explain from 7th to 12th chapters. So therefore, the process of bhakti is the highest, and one can attain all the results which are obtained by all the other paths. Yat karmabhir yat tapasa jnana vairagyayascha yogena dana dharmena shreyo bhiritarapi sarvam mad bhakti yogena mad bhakto labate anjasa swarga apavarga madhama kathanchit yati vanchati. So Krishna is telling in Uddhava Gita to Uddhava. He's saying that, O Uddhava, whatever path one may practice, all the paths results can be obtained by my devotee. Yat karma bhir, by the practice of karma yoga, tapasa, by the practice of tapasya, jnana yoga, dan, dharma and anything else. Sarvam mad bhakti yogena, my devotee achieves everything very easily. Mad bhakto labhate anjasa, very quickly one attains everything. Swarga apavarga madhama, he attains, if he wants swarga, he will get swarga also. If he wants liberation, he'll get liberation. Madhama, he'll get my abode if he wants it. So bhakti yoga is the highest, which Krishna will start explaining from the 7th chapter onwards. So now we'll start the first verse. So in this first verse, interesting thing is, after Krishna ends the 6th chapter by the description of Bhakti Yoga, Arjuna has not asked him anything. Arjuna is peacefully listening. Out of his own, Krishna goes into ecstasy and he starts the description of Bhakti Yoga because it is very, very dear to him. The process of Bhakti, which is very dear to him, Krishna on his own starts glorifying the process of Bhakti. He says, Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Maya Saktamana Partha Yogam Yunjan Madashraya Asamshayam Samagram Mam Yatha Gyasyasi Tachrinu. So Krishna is saying, Tachrinu, just hear, O Arjuna, because the process of hearing is the only way to realize, Krishna consciousness, only way to realize Bhakti. Tachrinu. What do you have to hear? You have to hear Gyasyasi Samagram. I will tell you everything. Oh Arjuna, I am going to tell you everything. And by knowing this, asamshayam, I am going from last word to the first word, because that is how the flow goes. Krishna is saying, Tachrinu, first hear. What you have to hear? What I will tell you? Gyasyasi Samagram. I will tell you everything. Therefore, asanshayam, all your doubts will be dispelled. And then after the doubts are dispelled, what one has to do? Madashrayaha, take shelter of me. In this way, yogam yunjan, in this way you will be connected to Krishna, connected to me, and mai asaktaha. Therefore, you will be attached to my devotional service. It all starts with hearing. As we hear in the Bhagavatam also, how did Rukmini Devi develop attraction for Krishna? She had never seen Krishna, only by hearing. Just hearing from the sages who would come to the palace of her father, they would glorify Krishna. So Pushrutya Mukundasya Rupa Virya Gunashriyah Grihagatam Giyamane Tanmene Sadrashim Patim. So Rukmini Devi, Upashrutya, she heard. Mukundasya, she heard about Krishna. What did she hear? Rupa, Virya, Guna, and Shri. She heard about the beauty of the Lord. She heard about the strength of the Lord. She heard about the qualities of the Lord. She heard about the opulences of the Lord. From whom? Grihagatam Giyamanir. Whoever would come to the palace, she would hear from them. And then she decided, Tammene Sadrishim Pati, Shadi karungi to inse hi karungi. So that was her decision. Based on what? Just by hearing. So that is how we will also develop our determination to please and attain Krishna. So therefore, in this verse, Krishna is saying, if you want to become attached to me, then you have to hear from me. Then, in the second verse, Krishna says, Jnanam teham savijnanam idam vakshyamya sheshatah yajgyatva neha bhuyonyajgyatavyam avashishyate. So this is the last verse we'll take today. So Krishna is saying here, I will tell you two things. I will tell you about Gyan and I will tell you about Vigyan also. So Gyan means I will tell you my greatness. Vigyan means I will tell you about my sweetness. So Krishna describes this Gyan, the greatness of Krishna is described in chapter 7 and 8. And Vigyan, the sweetness of Krishna is described in chapter 9, where Krishna very lovingly is explaining that how he takes care of his devotees, how he is ready to do anything for his devotees. For him, devotees are the first preference. And then in 10th and 11th, he is describing both. So therefore, Prabhupada writes that Gyan is the theoretical knowledge, Vigyan is the realized knowledge. So we have, Krishna is saying, I will give you both. And by knowing this, Gyatavyam avashishyate, you will understand everything. That means you will understand everything in principle. Somebody came to Prabhupada and said, Swamiji, you are saying by knowing Krishna, you will know everything? Prabhupada said, yes. So please tell me how many windows are there in the Empire States building? Prabhupada said, that is not the question you should ask to a spiritual master. If it is told that you will know everything, that means you will know everything what is required to take us back to Godhead. You will understand this world in principle. You will understand who are we, who is the Lord, and what is this world. And rest everything is details which will keep on changing. So Krishna is saying, by knowing this knowledge, you will know three things. You will understand Jiva, you will understand Prakriti, and you will understand Bhagavan. And rest everything is detail. So these three principles are important to be understood to take us back to Godhead. And that is what Krishna will explain in this 7th chapter. So we'll stop here. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai. If anybody has any questions, they can put on the chat. So question has come. Sometimes I develop hatred and anger in my heart for other religion. Is such type of hatred and hindrance in our spiritual path? So we have to understand that there are various faiths which people follow, and we should be very, very careful what we are supposed to do. If our heart is filled with the hatred for other people, what they are doing, then our heart will not be full with the love for Krishna. Just like a sponge. In a sponge, if you put only water, if you dip the sponge in the water, when you press it, water will come out. So if we are always developing all the ill feelings towards other religion, then the problem is we'll not be able to fill our heart with Krishna conscious thoughts. So the important thing is what goes in comes out. So of course we have to do the needful if things are not in, if things are going beyond our hand, but we have to, the basic principle should be very clear. You have to always remember Krishna and never forget Krishna, and anukulasya sankalpa pratikulasya varjanam. Take whatever is favorable for your devotional practice and reject whatever is unfavorable. Everybody has a particular capacity. We have to understand what I can do. How can I support Krishna consciousness? And the best way we can support and spread this Krishna consciousness is preaching this message to others. At present, people of India, although belonging to Hindu religion, practicing which is actually Sanatan Dharma, none of them, very few of them know what is actually Sanatan Dharma. So if we are getting troubled by other religion, what they are doing, instead of developing hatred towards them, we have to invest our energy in spreading this message. That is what the best we can do. And that is what Krishna tells in the 18th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Whoever preaches this message, that person is very, very dear to me. So, and that's what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asked, that पृथ्वी ते आचे अत नगरादि ग्राम सर्वत्र प्रचार होइबे मोरा नाम भारत भूमि ते मनुष्य जन्म होइला जार जन्म सार्थक करी कर परोपकार. So that is what we are expected to do, and that is how we can please the Lord, and that's how we can save others also. Okay, somebody asked, can you please show the slides of the chapter summaries again? Okay, I'll just show the chapter summaries again. Yeah, so these are the chapter summaries. First, Arjuna observes the armies and becomes over. Almost every day I am repeating the overview. So by now, you should have been at least some clue of what is happening in the flow. So in first chapter, Arjuna becomes overwhelmed by seeing the armies, and then he gives 5 doubts, 5 arguments. He becomes, he's thinking, I am showing compassion. I am overwhelmed with compassion. How I will enjoy alone if I kill all my family members. And if I kill all of them, I'll become sinful. And if I kill all of them, there will be no one to protect the women of the family. The whole family tradition will be destroyed. And therefore, Arjuna decides not to fight. Hearing this, Dhritarashtra becomes hopeful. And he thinks, okay, now it seems that Arjuna is not going to fight. But now, Sanjay tells that Krishna inspires Arjuna to fight. And then after this, Krishna describes the summary of Bhagavad Gita in the 2nd chapter. Arjuna accepts Krishna as Guru. And then Krishna describes the knowledge of Jnana, that is the knowledge of the body and the soul. And then he tells that if you want to enjoy, best ways to fight. That is Sakam Karma Yoga level. Then third, he says, if you are fearful of sinful reactions, if you practice in a detached consciousness, Nishkam Karma Yoga, then you will not get sinful reactions. And then he says that the person who is practicing this Nishkam Karma Yoga has some qualities which he explains in the last section of this second chapter. Then Arjuna gets bewildered by hearing this verse 2.49, where Krishna is saying, keep away all this abominable work. So for Arjuna, abominable work means fighting. But then again, Krishna has told Arjuna to fight. So then Arjuna is confused. So then Arjuna asks, which is better, renunciation or action? So hearing this, Krishna says that Nishkam Karma Yoga should be performed for a person who is mature enough. Jnana Yoga should be performed for a person who is mature enough in this yoga practice. But those who are not so mature, Nishkam Karma Yoga should be performed. But Arjuna may say, but I am mature in this yoga process. Krishna said, okay, even if you are mature, but still you have to practice Nishkam Karma Yoga only, because whatever great people do, common people follow. And then in this path of practicing Nishkam Karma Yoga, this lust is a biggest obstacle. Therefore, one has to conquer the lust by the spiritual intelligence. And then Krishna explains this spiritual intelligence, Krishna represents this transcendental knowledge in the fourth chapter, where Krishna gives his knowledge of himself. He says, I gave this knowledge to Sun God. And then he describes the nature of his birth and appearance. And then he says this Nishkam Karma Yoga can be understood on the platform of Jnana. And one can attain this knowledge by Yajna and by approaching a bona fide spiritual master. Again, Krishna uses few terms in 39th and 41st verse, which is contradictory to the 42nd verse. In 39 and 41st verse, Krishna is seemingly telling Arjuna that you have to give up your work and attain peace. 42nd verse, Krishna is seemingly telling that okay, you have to fight. Although Krishna is saying you have to give up karma kand, you have to practice Nishkam Karma Yoga. But Arjuna is not able to understand. Therefore, Arjuna asks, which is better, renunciation or action? Krishna says both are same, but the Karma Yoga is easier. And if you practice this Nishkam Karma Yoga, it will free you from all the bondage. And one can attain the liberation from this material world either by Ashtanga Yoga or by Buddhi Yoga or by Bhakti Yoga. Ashtanga Yoga Krishna explains in the 6th chapter, which we discussed today. He describes 2 levels. He describes what are the practices of Ashtanga Yogi, and then he says mind control is the most important limb of Ashtanga Yoga. And even if somebody is not successful, he is given another opportunity. And then in the last he says Bhakti Yogi is the topmost of all the yogis. And then after this, Krishna starts the description of Bhakti Yoga. So there is one question which has come. Is there any reason why Arjuna addresses Krishna as Madhusudan? So yeah, whatever Krishna and Arjuna speaks, it has some purpose. Just like when we are talking with our friends, we can call any name which may not have any relation. But when Krishna is speaking and Arjuna is speaking, anything they say, it has a purpose. There is a purpose behind it. So why Arjuna is calling Krishna as Madhusudana? Because Madhu is a demon which Krishna has killed. Arjuna is saying, you have killed this demon of Madhu. Now this doubt which has come in my mind is also a demon. So please give your instructions and destroy this demon of doubt. That is what Arjuna is telling when he addresses Krishna as Madhusudana. So somebody has asked for the recordings. So today I have recorded, somebody requested. So we'll share the details. So thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai. So tomorrow we'll start from 7.2 at same time 7 to 8. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.